Good morning, everyone. How the heck are you? I am doing just fine. I hope you're all doing great today, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Can you believe we are halfway through this month already? And in just over a week, it'll be Thanksgiving. And then just 4 weeks from that, it'll be Christmas. Can you believe it? This year has flown by. It has flown by. And what a busy year it has been. I am your happy, humble, hairy host, Bill Sylvie. It's good to see you. I hope you're well. I had, hello, Adam Black, a not at all relaxing 4-day staycation. It involved a tremendous amount of driving. And frankly, I need a vacation from my vacation. But I hope you guys are doing better. Hey, you know what? Today's episode, today's live stream is brought to you guys by our friends over at Hellebarde Games. That's right. Hellebarde Games creates a wide series of fantasy adventures for your tabletop gaming experience for Osric and for Castles and Crusades. Osric, as we know, of course, is 99.999999% first edition AD&D. And Castles and Crusades is for those of you who might like a slicker, newer approach to the kind of bloated D20 rules. It is lighter weight, and it kind of bridges that appeal to many different people. So, our friends over at Hellebarde Games are the sponsors of this episode, and we thank them. And right now, if you visit Hellebarde Games over on DriveThruRPG and apply the code The Dungeon Delver YT, you can get your PDF copy of Temple of the Sun at a discount until December 15th. If you go over to the website for Hellebarde Games, that's hellebardegames.com. I will stick that URL for you right here. Right there. And right over here on Facebook. But if you want to check them out, you can get a print copy, a deluxe print copy of Temple of the Sun. Now, mine was so hot off the presses it says prototype on the cover, but yours won't. But what do you get with this? Well, let me show you what you get with this. You not only get some fantastic new cover art for my classic D&D module, Temple of the Sun, some front and back cover art, a very old school look, including the yellow banner. I love that they did that. But also, if you get the deluxe copy, look at that. That's right. A removable cover map is available. And these are limited quantity, by the way. So you got to act on these. But inside, in addition to color art, which you never got with the TSR module, you also get these beautiful non-repro blue maps. Here and here. And they just did such a wonderful job. And this is the original tournament module that I ran for, I believe it was Recon 2004 that I ran this for. Was it Recon 2007? I don't quite recall. But it was, now I say tournament module. It was really a convention module. I didn't do much in the way of a contest. But you can get this lovely print copy at Hellebarde Games. They have a limited quantity. You're going to have to act on those. But there's so much cool stuff in here. So much cool stuff in here. You've got the module. You've got a separate list of monsters. You've got the detachable cover. So check them out. I did. I like those guys over at Hellebarde Games. Don is an awesome guy. And they have a wide range of other adventure modules. It's not just Temple of the Sun that they've got. And that brings up an interesting point. I wanna attend to something lest it get out of control. I said years ago that my adventure modules would be free, and they are. This Temple of the Sun is an expanded version of what I published for free once upon a time. So if you want my typo-ridden earlier version in PDF, you can track that down. But I recommend the print version for Osric. It's the AD&D module. Now, nobody's given out licenses to Greyhawk material over there at the Wizards of the Coast Zoo in Seattle. But I can tell you this. The campaign world that Temple of the Sun is set in is pretty good. You could drop that bad boy right into the Sea of Dust, right into the Bright Desert. It's up to you. Or if you want to stick it in your own campaign world, you don't want it to be Greyhawk. There's still plenty of awesome in that deluxe module, and I recommend you get a copy over at Hellebarde or Drive Through RPG if you're just a PDF guy. So I'd wanted to show you that on Friday, but I couldn't find it. It turns out it was on my collectibles shelf right over there, which is not the same as my game shelf, by the way. This may be soon the last copy of this module. So I'll put it up where it'd be safe. Not, mind you, that I won't game with it. I will. But anyway, so they are today's sponsors, and we thank them. So anyhow, like I said, busy staycation, not a lot of fun, lots of running around. Way more than I want to do on a vacation. Particularly last night. But how are you guys? How are you doing? What's going on at your game table? And while you formulate your answer, speaking of game tables, tomorrow we will be playing 1st edition Advanced D&D, and I, your humble host, will have this table arrayed with miniatures, with Dwarven Forge. We'll have the camera pointing at it. We will be having a real broadcast tabletop. That's right. For those of you who haven't gotten to see Dwarven Forge up close, as it is actually used as opposed to just glamour shots on the website, you'll be able to see it because our Tuesday gaming educational party will be here, and the next phase, as it were, of kind of explaining and talking about AD&D, answering questions as we go, will be the use of miniatures on the tabletop. Now, when Gary was playing, tabletop terrain was certainly a thing. But the 28mm miniature, I mean, a lot of guys use like 54mm elastilins and Airfix minis, 20mm and whatnot. So kind of the set heroic standard, thank you Imperial Ramblers, it's not just a shirt, it's a hoodie. IR and I are both big Alabama Crimson Tide fans. Is that why my viewership is so low today? People just signed in and saw that I was wearing Alabama gear and just checked out. I hope not. But back to miniatures. Sand tables were a thing. And a sand table back then was not a sandbox today. It's a sandbox adventure. Go anywhere, do anything. No, a sand table back then was literally a table, sometimes a pool table with a tarp on it. Sometimes it was a purpose-built, heavy-duty wooden table filled with sand. And when you wanted gaming terrain, You just sprinkle a little water over it, and molded hills. And maybe you stuck HO railroad scale trees in for bushes and brush and other kinds of plant cover. But I don't know if back in the day, dungeon terrain was a thing. I mean, I think certainly there were probably guys, they'd lay out pencils or Lincoln logs or Legos or lock blocks or you know, what have you to mark off dungeons. I have seen old Dragon magazine ads from back in the day that seemed to feature some kind of dungeon wall type terrain. And I'll look. I'll leaf through all the ads because, oh no, I have to read Dragon magazine. Shucky darns. But I'll look through the archives and see if there was anything. See if there's anything I can find. But with that said, one thing, and I'll go into this now because I don't really want to go into it tomorrow while we're spending our hour gaming. See, unlike chainmail and probably some early AD&D games played by dedicated wargamers, size and distance and well, I hate to say this, particularly because I'm not a fan of scale creep. I mean, they still call minis that are almost 2 inches high 28 millimeter. They're 32, 35, 38 millimeter minis. It's crazy how big tabletop gaming minis have gotten. I mean, you stand a fighter from Ral Partha circa 1979, just a human fighter, up against, a barbarian warlock lord leader from overwrought studio castings. It's like this tall, and the Ral Partha is like this tall. Both are fine sculpts, but it's like if player A wants to use Ral Partha and player B wants to use the overwrought studios mini, how can you have an accuracy of scale on the tabletop and say, well, that, so you're standing an inch away, that's exactly 6 feet away. Yeah, but I mean, my character is 15 and a half feet tall, so I can just say 6, And Stefan over at Dwarven Forge, back when, now, I don't know about the largely the 2E period of AD&D is like a hinterland for me. I played 1E through the 80s, 89, 90, I got into other games, didn't pick AD&D back up until 98. So there's a big gap in there. I don't know if 2E players really did grid squares or anything like that when it came to minis out on the tabletop. I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't see a lot of stuff like that. But your AD&D games back then, however they went, when Stefan rolled out Dwarven Forge, all of the Dwarven Forge pieces, the cobblestone, even the cave floors, are those 5-foot squares that you see in 3rd edition. So it's ready made for a 5-foot square, but the 5-foot square is not AD&D. The 3.3-foot square is AD&D, because you can have 3 men fighting abreast, a 3-man deep phalanx, basically 9 people in a 10 by 10 square in AD&D. So what I tell my players when the Dwarven Forge is out, first of all, don't count the squares. We're only super interested in ranges and distance on Dwarven Forge if we're talking about missile fire of any kind or spell ranges. Don't go, oh, okay, well, I can move I can move 30 feet, so that's 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not Monopoly. And it shouldn't be, regardless of what you're doing. Now, if you've got everybody to scale, let's say you've got shelves and shelves of Ralpartha, and you're saying ignore the square tiles in the Dwarven Forge, but we are adhering to horizontal scale distances, then yeah, break out the ruler and say, okay, this dungeon corridor is, let's see, that's 26 inches there, so that's 260 feet, so that's you can exactly move your mini to exactly this spot. For me, Dwarven Forge is mostly, I'll say it's 85%, 80%, mostly there as a visual treat that's fun to look at and to kind of give the characters some perspective. I've run games where I have completely, I thought the characters and I were, or rather the players and I were on the same sheet of music. They thought that they were on the same sheet of music as me. I thought that I was on the same sheet of music as them when it came to understanding distances and ranges in dungeon terrain. And then I'm like, or in dungeon environments, and they're like, hey, I'll break out the Dwarven Forge terrain and you guys can see that. They see it on the table and they're like, oh, okay, now I understand. Now when you say this room is like a rhomboid shape and the door is on the angular eastern wall in the middle, now I get it. Now I see that. So it can help clear up confusion. Now, misdirecting players is kind of part and parcel of being a DM. Yes, I said that. Misdirecting the players. If they think if they're in a room where you've got all the compass directions flipped and they think they're going east, but they're going west, and they're drawing their map accordingly, and when they're done, they're like, huh? Wait a minute. No, we came out this door, but that should be in solid rock. Wait a minute. What's going on here? That's fine. But if there's a clear situation, something clearly that you want to impress on the players and want them to understand, and a lack of communication skills or visualization skills or just general understanding, just kind of going cross purposes, is getting in the way of that, it can be kind of frustrating if that's not what you want to do. If that's not what your intention was. Now, hey, if I ever run Queen of the Demon Web Pits, those of you who know Queen of the Demon Web Pits, you know what the demon web is like. I'll describe areas for the players one time. And if they ask me details, I will give them exactly the same description with no variation. If they say, but that doesn't make any sense, it doesn't seem like this, I'm not giving them any hints. And even if I could, maybe Stefan's next project should be, non-Euclidean Nightmare Dwarven Forge. Even if he could, I wouldn't have that stuff out there. Something like the Demon Web Pits, when your characters really need to be 14th, 15th level to tackle that. You're pretty much going to have to rely on what I say. And what I say will come exactly out of the module. But, there's no hints. And if the characters think that this thing is different from how it actually is on the map and their lack of understanding dooms them, so be it. Passerby says, Sweet Home Alabama. Darn right. Darn tune. Sweet Home Alabama. So that's yeah, that's what's going on with tomorrow's game. So you guys, all of you who view the game, you'll get a visual treat. I'll put it all in the description. If you're one of the people who plays in that game, and you're checking it out right now, you're checking this video out right now, you guys are in for a treat tomorrow. What I'll have is the big 4K camera there will be showing the table, the Dwarven Forge, and the miniatures and so on, and you'll see my smiling face on a little webcam. I'll be down in the corner of that image, but I'll share that with the characters, and because they can't be here, I'll move their miniatures as appropriate. So that's what's going on tomorrow. And then Wednesday, of course, Kyle will be here Wednesday. That'll be a lot of fun. I just bollocksed up the scheduling last week when Tracy was here. So we'll do Wasteful Wednesday on Wednesday afternoon. And then Thursday, I'll catch you up on what's happening tonight, which is, of course, the big 12-person first edition AD&D game, which I am greatly looking forward to. So quite excited about that. The AD&D game, that is. So that is what's going on there. Now I am planning on getting some writing in today. Speaking of Hellebard games, full disclosure, I do occasionally do work for Hellebard games, not just writing modules, but doing a little bit of editing, a little bit of content reading, and so on and etc. So that's a thing that's going to happen that I got to get done today, and then get ready, of course, for tonight's game and for tomorrow's game. That's the thing. My Monday, Tuesday cycle is fairly jam-packed full of first edition AD&D. I, play for 3 hours on Monday night, and then I come in here, nowadays, anyway, and do the live stream with AD&D. So I'll be preparing for that. That will be, that's a thing that's going to happen. But anyhow, now I'm not quite ready for to start doing this, but I know we've done like deeper dives on certain modules, and we've done a deep dive, which is still kind of technically ongoing deep dive on first edition AD&D and learning AD&D. One thing that I'd wanted to start doing was talking about original D&D, the history of original D&D, and getting into some of the specifics of it. And I'm still going to do that. I was thinking about kicking it off a couple of weeks ago, but I wasn't really prepared for it. And coming into the holidays with preparation, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. A friend of mine reached out to me and was like, hey, we got to get together before so-and-so's wedding. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because, that's the thing that's happening in mid-December that I have to, I'm providing something to the bride and the groom. So it's just the schedule is crazy. And I think a fine time to start looking at the history of OD&D might actually be this coming January, because it'll be on the 48th anniversary, 47th anniversary. Anyway, it'll be darn close to the 50th anniversary of first edition, or of original D&D, because it was released in January of 1974. So rather than just kind of half-ass it through the holidays, I am going to give it a proper treatment, which will begin after the first of the year. And I know you guys are thinking, oh man, that's a long time off. It's not. Anybody out there who's planning stuff, who's planning on doing holiday related things, you know, and I know that is that time is going by really fast. So that, that's gonna be a busy time over the next few weeks. And it is weeks, guys. It's not, I mean, you can say months, Bill. No, it can't. Again, there's 6 weeks left in the year. 6 weeks. That's 30 show episodes. But then Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve, that's 3 of those times. I'm sorry, I'm not going to stream on Christmas Day. I'm probably not going to stream on Christmas Eve either. So that's 4. So that's 26. And so 6 of those are Wastrel Wednesdays. So that's 10 gone. And 6 of those are gaming sessions. Possibly 5. Let me look at the calendar on when things actually fall. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So that's 6 of those that are gaming sessions. So that's over half of the remaining episodes of the show. Well, it's a little over half the remaining episodes of the show that are already devoted to other things. So, I'll have to see. I'll have to see. I would rather do that. First of all, starting at around January 17th-ish, 1974, AD&D released. I'd rather do it then to kind of mark it, because again, I mean, it'll be 48 years since the launch. I think it's a fine place to start, a fine time to start, rather than just jumping in and half-assing it. So that's what's happening there. Over on the Discord for the channel, and yes, we do have a Discord for the channel. Let's see. Let me see if I can find this. Okay, so Volcano God was posting up some ephemera from late first edition days, and I saw some stuff pop up. Like he didn't share this, but I saw this. I saw this on Facebook. Insofar as I pay a little bit of attention to Facebook, was a Warduke pencil sharpener. Now, I don't just mean it's like Warduke's upper torso and you stick I mean, it's like a full non-posable, I guess you call it a non-action figure, but it's a full non-posable fixture. He's on a yellow pedestal with an Advanced Dungeons and Dragons sticker on it, and you just sharpen your pencils right there in the little plinth he's on. And then Volcano God shared, let me see if I can get this to open here. Yeah, from Laramie Toys. An Advanced Dungeons and Dragons wallet. That's right. Let me see if I can get the link to open here. Here we go. So you guys, check this out. So the point behind me saying this is I rave on about Wizards of the Coast, reducing AD&D to being just a lifestyle brand. TSR was trying it too. I mean, you got to remember back in the days, even when Gary and the Blooms were in control of the kind, they bought a company that sold wood burning kits. And if you don't know what wood burning it is exactly what it sounds like. You took this basically a low power soldering iron and you burnt patterns into like pieces of cottonwood and called it art. But they also bought a company that made needlepoint kits. I mean, can you imagine? Like a couple little old ladies doing needlepoint. And was it just needlepoint? Would it have been for TSR needlepoint? Like, oh, here's a dragon, here's a wizard. The world may never know. I know people who saw the wood burning kits. And I have a vague recollection of seeing at least a picture of the wood burning kits. I don't know of anyone who ever bought a D&D needlepoint kit. If you do, put it down in the comments. Let's hear from you about D&D needlepoint kits. And you can tell me whether or not that was a thing. Yeah, that picture's opening. Yeah, this is a very 2E looking wallet. This is, I don't know, that looks like a pleather wallet. It just may be plastic. Yeah, imagine taking your date out to impress. Got this. Pull your Amex Black out of your Dungeons and Dragons wallet. Oh my goodness. But that was a thing. That was a real thing. That was TSR lifestyle branding. Their products probably before most of the people in charge of D&D now were even born. So just had to share that bit of ephemera. And by the way, I did mention this just now. But in case you're curious, let me see if I can... No expire. Generate a new link. Copy. In case you're curious, in case you're out there watching, just driving by, and you have no idea who I am or what I do or what we do here, stop by and check out our Discord. I've got a Discord server. It's not really anything special these days, by the way. But I have one just the same. You can stop by and say hello. You can join the group. Just stick your head in, and if you want to talk about this live stream or first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons or related ephemera or memes or whatnot, swing on by and say hello. We have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. So do that. Feel free to do that. And of course, I mean, talking about D&D as a lifestyle item, I mean, I remember go to the 7-Eleven. Oh, you want to get some candy? Sure. What would I buy in candy at the 7-Eleven? Dungeons and Dragons candy. There was a D&D candy. It was little candy mugs. They were sweet tarts. But what I loved about them was on the back, there was a monster card. I remember like vampire, troglodyte, and bugbear were three that stood out to me. Now, I may have had more. I may have had more D&D candies than that with more different monsters. But vampires, troglodytes, and bugbears, oh my, were the monsters that were on the D&D candies. Let me see. See, nowadays you go D&D candies and you'll find, what is it? There's like nerds. There's like nerds mimic candies. So everything that's old is new again. Let me see if I can find this. Just kind of refine your searching. Okay, so here we go. This is from a website called Collecting Candy. So I'm reading straight from this website, and if you guys want to check this out, I'm not affiliated with them. I don't know them. I don't know who they are, but there was some sweet art on those D&D candy cards, and I don't think it was just copied out of the monster manual or anything like that. But checking this out, I played Advanced Dungeons & Dragons a lot back in the 1980s. I guess you could call me an old school RPG player, as I was a first edition AD&D guy. Eventually I learned to play second, but I never really warmed to AD&D third edition rules. Well, I guess that's kind of old. Yeah, I've got some nerd cred. I could go on, but rather than bore the non-role-playing readers, I'll get to the subject of today's post. Dungeons & Dragons candy. Yes, it really existed. Produced by Emerald, which itself sounds like, I don't know, a chemical explosive or tranquilizer or something like that. But produced by Emerald, back in the heyday of D&D. It would appear that this was a candy that arrived in the shape of fantasy figures. I don't remember Dungeons & Dragons candy. Hey, I do, pal. And if I ever saw them on the shelves in 1983, I probably didn't think much of them. I did. I like them. I can appreciate them for the era that produced them, so I think they're insanely fantastic. I hope you think so too. I do. And, oh my gosh, here's an entire case lot that someone... Let me see if I can... Yeah. This is an entire unopened case lot. I can't imagine that they're very good at this point, but... Yes, there was some... Demerol. Yeah. Demerol. Demerol candies. And then there's some fun comments. This is all very old. Don't rush over there and start flooding his comments section with comments about D&D candies, because this post is from May of 2012. So this post is literally almost a decade old. I'm sure he would be very dumbstruck by the sudden influx of comments. Let's see. Oh, here's a website that's got the trading cards on them. So what do we got here? I'm sorry, I can't believe today's show is just me, or the back half is just me talking about somebody else's webpage with D&D stuff, D&D candies on it. But yeah, let's see. There's the ogre, owlbear, troglodyte. I distinctly remember that troglodyte. Maybe it was minotaur and magic user, and not bugbear and vampire that I had. But I definitely had 3 of them. And they actually have. Let me see if I can I zoom this in. Can I? Let me see. Oh, that link can't be found. But it looks like they actually have the stats for the monsters, at least. They don't. The magic user and the fighter, they don't have the stats for. But the ogre, troglodyte, owlbear, and minotaur do have the stats. So that's kind of cool. And nowadays, like I said, you can get Dungeons and Dragons Nerds candies. Nerds gummy cluster mimic thing. I don't know. I'm gonna do that thing where I talk about how the past was better than the future. Dead Pedal just stopping by to say hello. I might start my Luna Gans. Got to make use of the new airbrush. Very cool. Very, very cool. Well, share pictures with us on the Discord, Dead Pedal. Dead Pedal, of course, is talking about the Maschinen Krieger kits. As I did an episode talking about the Maschinen Krieger. And yes, Demerol is a drug. It's a tranquilizer. Ultimately, at the end of the day, aren't many drugs tranquilizers? If you take enough of any drug, I don't care what it is, you will be tranquil eventually. But no, I did an episode. We talked about the Kao Yokoyama Maschinen Krieger kits. That's a whole nother thing. You can check it out. You can find it in the archives. But anyway, back to the D&D candies as I was discussing. The ones the ones are they're like cartoony and goofy and silly looking, and you have like actual AD&D stuff on the back, and like just grim brutal artwork on the boxes for the ones back from when I was a kid back in '83, man. Not this you know, the let me see. Nerds partners with Dungeons and Dragons in a match made in 80s heaven. Maybe your picture of the 80s, but I mean, you look at this and you guys tell me what looks better, the older ones? Oh, that's not going to work at all. Oh, well, yeah, it did. It did. So you look at that and tell me which is the better. Because honestly, I think the older ones look better. They look like heavy metal album covers. Not that. But anyway, that's just my opinion on it. So, probably going to drop it there today, guys. Although I will, a passerby says, AD&D 2nd edition trading cards, that stuff stunk for real. Yeah, you know, there were 1st edition AD&D monster cards, the monster card set, and I wish I'd gotten the monster card sets, but I didn't. But they are actually handy. They you know, you can keep them alphabetically organized and just flip through like, hey, I need the stats for a griffin. Boom, you know. But now we have computers, so it's not that big of a deal. So the monster card sets, if you got them, that's cool. Maybe we can talk about the monster card sets on another day. But that's about all I got today, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks to Dead Pedal for stopping by and spouting off. Stop by and talk about your airbrushing, because I'm going to be... I got to get back to mini painting. That's the thing. I'm doing that. I'm promising myself, I'm gifting myself by eking out some time to relearn airbrushing, and I'm going to start doing some airbrushing, because I've shown it on the show before, and I don't really have them over here. I have like 3 homemade armatures with armies of kobolds, well, tribes of kobolds stuck to them, just waiting for the airbrush and that, oh, I can do 20 in 20 minutes kind of painting job. I really want to do that. So my kobold minis are all finally painted. And then I'm going to do my goblin minis the same way. And then maybe the orc minis. We'll just have to see. But anyway, that's really where I'm going to call it today. Like I said, short episode. I'll be around. Hit us up on the Discord. Don't forget to check out our sponsors. That is the fine folks over at Hellabard Games. Get yourself a copy of Temple of the Sun. Limited run print copies with a removable cover and non-repro blue maps inside for both Castles and Crusades and for Osric, which is AD&D. So you guys have a fantastic day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll be back then when we're going to be playing AD&D Dwarven Forge out, cameras out, lights up. It's going to be a cool experience. You don't want to miss that. So that will be tomorrow's, and probably going forward, many, many future games live stream will have the Dwarven Forge. All right, that's really, really, really it for today's game. So y'all have an absolutely wonderful day. I love you all. Thank you for stopping by. And I'll be back tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow for some first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons live stream with miniatures. And hey, do me a favor. Share that URL out there. Get that out there. Remember, 1,000 subs on the YouTube channel equals the Great Underground Mini Convention. So just keep that in mind. Peace, everyone. Love you all.